Thank you. So with us here is Mahal Sultan. She is a recipient of the Great Scholarship 2021, and she has lots of information that she'll share with us on how to go about our application and to have better chance while applying. So Mahal, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing great too. So just going
Thank you
through the
so much
website.
for having me. Thank you so much for having me over. It's an utmost pleasure, and I'm really honored that you guys thought that I was ready enough to actually take advice from me.
Thank you. Okay. So going right to the scholarship already, we were just like going through the website and then we're not quite sure about how things are. When you click on things, you'll be directed to a particular university and then you'll be asked to click on the university. So how does application go? Do you like apply to the British Council, like the Great Scholarship, the body organizing it, or do you apply straight to the university that is hosting the recipient, something like that?
Right. So basically, great scholarship or great scholarship, everything is on the website. When you go and search on the website, it's actually very explanatory. And I think before going and searching for anything else, the first thing, if you want to apply for a scholarship, the first thing you need to do is literally just make use of Google, because you just have to type the scholarship, and there is a list of scholarships that come through, right? When you open Great Scholarship, you'll see that you actually don't have to put anything separately for a Great Scholarship. You apply directly through the university. So, for example, in my case, I had already gotten an admission at the University of Warwick, and then there was a separate tab that allowed me to submit an application for the Great Scholarship once I was admitted in the University of Warwick. So, the first step that you have to meet is that you have secured an admission in that university, particular university that you want to opt for. And also before starting anything, you need to first research, because not all universities are paired up with Great Scholarship. And even for the universities that are paired up with Great Scholarship, in certain universities, they give you a list of subjects. And in certain universities, there is no, limitation of subjects. You can actually apply through the. It's actually pretty obvious, and it's written on the website. You just need to research a bit about it. But the process actually starts from the university. The first step is always that you need to get an admission into the university. And then the next step is applying for the Great Scholarship.
Okay. So in that case now, different universities with different requirements. So you have to like go to this particular university, what is their requirement, then go to another one. So what do you think should a person consider before choosing a university to apply to?
All right, so there are multiple things that you need to consider. The most typical thing that you will hear someone say is that you need to look at the university ranking. I never used to understand why people say that, but the university ranking is actually very important, because they're being ranked on multiple criteria. So once you see the ranking and you see a university that's reputable enough, it just opens a lot of avenues for you in your future career, because taking that name, and it's not just even the name and the repute of the organization, it's the amount, it's the quality of education that they can provide to you. The first thing that you need to do is look at the ranking of the university. Obviously, for example, in my scenario, I would really recommend that it's not necessary to just go into the direction that you've just chosen. For example, I was a whole marketing person. My bachelor's was in marketing, and then I was working in marketing for 4 years. But then I just thought that I've done a lot of marketing in my life, but I really need to move forward in life. So I was searching at Warwick, and Warwick had this very separate department, WMG. I had never even heard of it. So kudos to research. Research can help you a lot. When you start looking at universities, you'll see that there are really niche sort of areas that these universities give, and you might have never heard of it, but they're actually very interesting, because not all the people and not everyone is going through the cliched things. And it's not very mainstream, but it's actually very niche, and you start to see that it's actually a differentiating factor that you might actually have above anyone else. So when you're choosing a university, of course, your passions need to be aligned. For example, when I was applying, I didn't want to do anything in marketing. I wanted to go for something in innovation, in entrepreneurship, and something that is in the technology sector. Because when I come back in Pakistan, I wanted to work in the technology sector. So I was searching universities according to that. So naturally, all the top business management schools and all of these, they start coming up at the top of the list. The second thing that you need to see is, you need to choose the location. So if you want to go for UK, or you want to go for the US market or Australian market, or whichever market that you want to go into, you need to do your research. For example, UK was always a preference for me because I've always liked how UK looks like in the movies. So I was like, no, I want to go for UK. I don't want to go for US or Canada. So you need to make those choices for yourself, what works well and what doesn't. So I was really happy with my choice. It was exactly how I dreamt of it. Um, the third thing that you need to understand is that once you finalized, okay, this is the direction I want to take, and this is the market I want to go into, then you just start researching. You need to let go of any bias or any preconceived notions you might have about universities. I took 3 months doing just research on universities. Which universities come? I mean, I had a whole list of documents, which because I'm a nerd in that sort of a way. So I used to see, which university comes at the top, which is the best subject being offered by that university, who are the professors, what are the modules being taught. One of the really important things that really important piece of advice that I came through was that choosing the subject is actually way more important than the university you choose. And I absolutely agree with it. So I had decided that I wanted to go into entrepreneurship and innovation. But then there was Imperial College, there was London School of Economics, there was University of Warwick, and there were so many universities. So it was overwhelming. Then what I did was that I started searching. So for example, I searched that what is the course that Warwick is giving on innovation and entrepreneurship. I compared it to other courses that were being offered in other universities. When you see the modules that they offer, what are they teaching in those modules? Who are the professors that are teaching all those things? What kind of background they have. You automatically start, building up a perception about a university. So Warwick already had a really good name. Warwick Business School had an amazing name and an amazing reputation. But I went for WMG because WMG, I hadn't even heard of it, but they also had business management courses. When I started researching them, those courses were actually much more in depth. Their assessments were very different from what WBS was offering. They had like module assessment. You had to write like 4,000 words of paper for every module that you were studying. It was actually very interesting because it's not the typical exams and all of those things that you go through. This was actually very practical. And for a person like me, because I already had experience, so it helped me bring all of that experience into my degree. And, it was quite a good combination for me. So the first thing that whenever anyone tries to take any advice from me, the first thing I say is that you really need to do your research, and you need to go into depth of anything that you want to study. Whatever direction you want to take, go see what other people have done. There are millions of videos that you'll find on YouTube, millions of reviews, millions of people, too many stories that you can see. Everything starts with the research. You need to have a strong research background.
Talking about research, when you were considering did you ever consider the competition? Because there's some university that will offer like you something like, okay, for somebody from Pakistan, you just have just one slot. So what if people were like 5 from your country? Okay, the first question is, did you ever consider the number of awardees for that particular scholarship in that university? And secondly, what did you think you did that made you stand out to be chosen to be offered the great scholarship?
I'm sorry, your voice broke up in the last question that you asked.
Okay, the last question is, what made your application stand out? Like, what do you think an applicant should write to make him or herself stand out in the application process?
Okay. So the only advice that I give over here is your application needs to come from your heart. It's as simple as that. You obviously English is really important. The grammar you use, the flow that your application has, all of these things are, prerequisites. These are always going to be there. But the differentiating factor is always going to be the narrative that you put forward. So the story that you tell to the reader, it's very important. We've always heard this, that, the story that you write, your first line, it needs to be so captivating that the reader is like, okay, I need to give everything else and I need to read this. And if you see that these universities, they get thousands of applications per year, and they have thousands of personal statements to read. What makes you stand out? I think whatever makes you stand out is whatever you've gone through in life and how you can take that experience, whether that's education, that's academic, or any of your personal circumstances as well. Because no matter what circumstances you go through, you show leadership at some situations, you show resilience at some situations. So these people who are there to mark your personal statements, they're not just looking at, okay, what are your academic achievements? So I think that first of all, paint a narrative. Whatever you've learned in life, in education, in life, in work experience, put all of that on the piece of paper, because that's the only interaction that the other person is going to get from you. So the more you tell about yourself, the better it is. You need to paint a picture for all your achievements. So for example, something as basic as the fact that, okay, I was head of the dramatic society in my bachelor's. So even that counts, because you're telling that, I was heading this for, 1 year, and there were so many students I was interacting with, what kind of things you did, what kind of initiatives you brought. Luckily, I had work experience as well. So I put in a lot of those examples that showed that I had leadership, and that showed that I had team building capabilities, that showed that I had networking capabilities. Because especially in great scholarship and in UK scholarship, it's a really important factor. Networking is a very important factor. So how you network, how you interact with people, and then you use those networks, and you leverage those networks to bring back something into the society. So that's something very important that they're looking at. So firstly, just build your own narrative, tell your story, be very open and be very honest about your story. Differentiated, you use captivating words, that's important, but you don't always necessarily need to have a very flowery sort of a vocabulary for that. Something in simple words would actually help you out better than using a word that might not even make sense with. Because the tone of your personal statements is everything. So if you use simple words with a good flow, that actually shows that you're trying to keep it simple and you're telling a story that comes directly from you and is not, just some other vocabulary that you've lifted off of internet. So keep it personal, keep it honest, and keep it very clean and simple. First things first. Secondly, I would say that paint all your achievements, whatever you've achieved, whatever you've done, whatever personal challenges you overcome as well. So, for example, in my scenario, I actually had written about the fact that I had a very challenging situation once at work, which actually threatened my security as a woman. So I actually mentioned that. I mean, for a person like me, I'm an introvert. I would never tell someone, a reader I don't even know, I would never tell these stories to someone. But I wrote that because I knew that showed the kind of strength and resilience I would have, and that's important on your personal statement. So even some of your personal challenges that you think that really show the resilient side of yours, mention those. Then at the end of the day, there needs to be a flow to your application. Whatever you're writing, there needs to be, a start, a middle part, and then the end. The ending is always very important. Your start needs to connect to the end of the application. So how you take all of that you've mentioned, how you take that, and then you tell that, okay, this is what I've learned. This is what I want to study at your university. And this is how I think my past experience and this degree would help me, and it would bring this good in the society and in the community that I live in. So that's a very important factor. One of the most important factors is the fact, what good can you bring into your community, into your home country through the degree that you're going to take? That's a very important factor in all of the UK universities. They're crazy about that, honestly speaking. So, for example, I wrote that, I wanted to start my own institute where I provide education, I provide funds, and I provide training to women who want to start, small and medium-sized enterprises. I wanted to provide training. I wanted to bring investors and, VC firms and all of these to one spot for women who wanted to start their own businesses, providing them support, business consultancy, and all of that. So that's what I wrote, and that's actually what my thesis was on actually as well, because that's what I'm passionate about, being a woman. So all of that came from my heart. So these are some of the tips that you really need to keep in mind, and if you do that, I think you would be good to go.
Okay. Beside the personal statement that you just mentioned, what other application documents were you asked to submit during the application process for the Great Scholarship?
So for the Great Scholarship, it was actually very easy, and I was really surprised at it. Um, all I had to do, literally all I had to do was, once I had applied and I had gotten into University of Warwick, um, I just went to click the application form, and it opened, it was an online form on the university page, and I had to type in my answers over there. So I think there were, from what I remember, I think there were 2 or 3 questions. And some a question asked about leadership, and a question then asked about my networking capabilities, and what I've seen in the past. I think just 2 or 3 which covered the gist of whatever I've spoken about. So I literally used bits and pieces from my personal statement. I used those, and I crafted my whole answers, and I wrote them and submitted it. So it was actually online. It was very easy. I didn't have to go through a lot of different documentation and everything, because you remember, you've already applied to the university, you've already gotten into the university. Now the next step is just the application of the scholarship. In the scholarship application, you need to prove why you're worthy of getting that scholarship. Why you're worthy, and then when you get it, are you actually going to put it to good use? That's the part that I was talking about, that what you do when you come back from your degree, that's the really important part. So if you put that in a good way, obviously the other person would be compelled to think that, okay, this is a deserving person for the scholarship.
Okay. So on the application portal again, we saw something about in second semester, you guys do like a networking workshop or something like that. And then in first semester, there's another workshop. So what was the experience like during that process?
It was really good. Honestly, I think I made 5 friends over there, and I'm still friends with them. It was just exciting. So the first session, we were supposed to have the first session in the first semester, but we couldn't because of, I think, some COVID restrictions at that time. And this was back in 2021. So what they did was that they held an online session for that. But then in the second semester, I think this was last year in May, they held an event in London. It was such a good event. So basically, I was at the University of Warwick, so I had to travel back and forth to London. So they gave me accommodation, and they actually, they compensate you for any transport that you have to make because of that. If you're already in London, obviously that's not an issue. But if you're coming from somewhere else, they actually reimburse you for that. So they gave us an accommodation. It was I think one of the hotels in London. And then the event was at the Oval, and it was just amazing. The food was so good. I got to network with so many people even from my own country. I didn't even know that those people were around. So I only knew people from the University of Warwick, but then there were people from University of Manchester, Edinburgh, so many other good universities, and you get to talk. And I'm still friends with them. Honestly, I when I was traveling to London just a couple of months back, I met with all of those friends as well, and it's a really good community that they've built. And then there were people who were from the alumni who had gotten the British Council award in previously. They had invited them, and they gave their speaker sessions, and they were so inspiring because they were doing so well for themselves. And your education and your degree in the UK, that sets a basis. So you get really inspired, and you meet all of these really amazing women especially, and amazing men especially, and you see how they've come across, and you can get a lot of help from them for your own career as well. So I really love that event, enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, so you came out with a distinction. Can you help us out?
Yes.
How did you go about it? So for some of us that want to begin our application, how do you mix the whole new country experience and then still reading hard, working hard, and coming out to the distinction?
Yeah. So I would really say that the choice of university was something that really helped me here. Warwick was really supportive in every possible way. Honestly, I couldn't have even dreamt of something better. They have student communities, they do well-being and mental health and all of these things that actually support you. They help you in your education to make sure that you pass and you pass with good numbers. Honestly, all you have to do is be consistent and you need to be focused, and that should work. That doesn't mean that you give up on any of the fun that you're having. I used to have a lot of fun. I mean, my fun is very different from a lot of other people. I love going on long walks and all of that. I love traveling. So my fun was sort of that kind of a thing. But I was also working two jobs when I was studying. So I was studying, I was working two jobs, and I had my whole thesis, which was a really big thing. And I was really stressed. I was losing all my hair during my thesis. But it was such an amazing time because honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely. Uh, the experience in UK, it was absolutely, I mean, I told you that it was all that everything that I had dreamt of, it was exactly that. The people are very nice. They will support you. They will be very nice with you. They will help you, guide you. And, and you gel in very quickly. So when I came back to Pakistan, I was actually missing UK a lot because you start feeling like, in the first semester, you feel like, oh, this place is not for me. I can never, and especially for a person like me, I came from a place where it's always very hot and humid. And then when I went to UK, it was always raining, always gloomy. I was like, I don't like this place. But then the second semester, amazing. I mean, I didn't want to come back. When I was coming back, I was almost crying because I didn't want to go back at all. So the people are very friendly over here, and they really value any input and any skills that you bring forth. So any skills apart from educational achievements that you have, make sure that you show them on your applications as well, because they are really counted in today's world. And honestly, everything is very manageable. They try and make it as challenging, but also as manageable for you as possible. So, I mean, I could do it anyone can.
So you moved from education to industry. Usually we hear stories of people after masters, they want to go for their PhD. So my question here is, how did you decide to move into industry right after your masters and not going for a PhD?
So a PhD is very much on my radar and I want to do it. But when I was doing my master's, I was really, because I have worked most of my life, so I just could not just be a student. It was a really difficult thing for me. So I'm telling you, even as a student, I was working two jobs because I just didn't like being idle. It's like, no, I have to make use of myself. So that's the kind of person I am. So when I completed my master's, I knew and I know that I really want to go back for a PhD, and definitely I'm going to go into a UK university. But I came to an industry because you remember I told you that I always had this plan in my mind that I was always working in marketing and sales. So I wanted to move towards technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, because that's the road I wanted to take. So once I did my master's, I felt like that was a good time for me. Honestly speaking, I was in the last month of my master's when I already got a job in Pakistan. So because people already started headhunting, and I already had received job offers, actually a couple of job offers from Pakistan. So I felt like it was a good opportunity to invest back into the country. And then I was like, I'll go for a PhD, but after some time, because remember I was losing all hair because of the dissertation. So I was like, I need a break from this.
Okay. Thank you. So what is advice to people that are like kind of very shy about moving out to another country to go and write, like to go and study? Because we hear some complaint about, scholarship stuff is kind of very difficult. You may get the admission, or getting the scholarship may be another, like a long story. So what is your advice to people like that?
So honestly speaking, I had a lot of trouble when I was applying for scholarships because scholarship was the deciding factor for me. If I didn't have a scholarship, I could not go for my education. I would honestly just say that you need to be resilient and you need to keep going and keep trying till the last moment. Honestly, I was trying till the last moment. I mean, my whole thing was finalized in July actually, and that's when I knew that okay, I'm actually gonna go, and things started showing you. So I would just say you need to be resilient. You need to set your goal in mind and you need to make sure that you focus enough to achieve it. Honestly, because when you have that in your mind, you'll do anything to achieve that goal. And I think everything starts making sense somewhere or the other. Secondly, please leverage your network. people around you, you would be amazed at how much people are willing to help you through the process. You just need to ask, because unless you ask someone, the answer is always going to be no. I was an introvert. I had a lot of trouble asking for help from people. But that was one experience that when I reached out to people and they were always very helpful towards me. I leveraged my LinkedIn community. I started writing posts that, I'm going for a scholarship and if anyone can help me in this process. So I found a couple of people who had written good personal statements. They helped me write those statements. So, I leverage my Instagram community as well. And I started asking people, I put up a story and I started asking people who can guide me, who has connections at Warwick. A couple of people came up with connections at Warwick who had already studied at Warwick, so they helped guide me. And similarly, I was doing the same for people who were coming in this year. So first of all, your own resilience and focus. And secondly, use your network, take help from people. People would definitely, you don't have to do everything alone. So these two things really help me.
Thank you very much. Well, honestly speaking, I wasn't expecting this scholarship to be this easy. I mean, compared to other scholarships like Commonwealth and Chevney, where you have to write like 15, 11 essays before you get accepted. Thank you for the insight. That was really thoughtful of you to have come and then given us all these tips. Thank you.
No problem at all. And if you ever need any help, I'm always here to help. And you just reach out to me whenever there's anything that comes up for me.
Definitely. You will. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.